Michael. We are live as every day at 11 a.m. Eastern time. How are you?
How are you doing today, Martin?
Doing great, doing great. Super busy, been doing a million things, but all good. What about you?
I feel like I've been straight on since the moment I woke up until right now. Like just straight through processing.
Perfect, perfect. That's good, that's good. We are working hard. We are making progress in our company, Michael. All good.
Grinding it out, man. Grinding it out. Okay. Hello to everybody and welcome to AGTP Daily. As Martin said, we go live every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to discuss the most important tech stories in the US. Today is Thursday, the last day of April, the 30th of April, 2026. There is a lot to get to today, Martin. Let's get right to it. OpenAI secures 10 gigawatts of US AI compute capacity. We want to talk about, are humans, again, cheaper than AI still or yet? Let's just see. Snaps Evan Spiegel warns of an AI backlash. We'll talk a little bit about that. This was fun, actually. China's EVs are finding their way into the US, even though they're kind of banned. Has Apple given up on the Vision Pro? We'll spend a little bit of time talking about that. Also, is your automobile monitoring everything you do? And if it is, why? SoftBank now kind of officially plans to build data centers in the USA, and the company that they built to do it has a name. We'll talk about that too. And Cursor automated some Kanban style workflows, which we'll talk about to kind of close this thing out. Okay, Martin, let's talk about OpenAI. Let's lead with that. So they hit 10 gigawatts of contracted US AI computing capacity. And originally, and this is where it gets kind of interesting, Martin, they were supposed to do that by 2029. But it's 2026.
Yes.
Yeah. So they've achieved this way faster than they expected to. And this kind of 10 gigawatt goal was set when OpenAI launched their Stargate project in January of 2025. So almost a year and a half ago now.
Okay.
And this Stargate thing is their long-term infrastructure build out. You know, there's this back and forth between OpenAI and Anthropic about who's going to build the most compute.
Yes.
Right. And why it's necessary to have this much compute, particularly this fast. But in just a year, with more than 3 gigawatts added in just the last 90 days, they've already blown past their target or reached their target at least. This is kind of cool, yeah?
So what does it mean? It means that their target was too low, and like there's a massive FOMO right now in terms of computing power, and they are like just focusing on that at the moment, trying to get as much as they can, trying to make sure that the others as well don't get as much as they need, right? And maybe like the demand also accelerated so much since they set that goal.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to this story than that. I mean, like, can we explain just a little bit more of this to the people that are listening, right? Because we're talking about gigawatts. It sounds like we're talking about power. And this gigawatt number refers to, it does refer to the electrical power draw, not to like any storage and stuff.
Okay.
And again, just for a frame of reference for people, 1 gigawatt of power is roughly enough to power a city of 750,000 people. That's a big city, yeah?
750,000. Okay.
It's just a lot of people.
1 gigawatt. Okay, wow.
1 gigawatt. So they have 10. So that's enough for 7.5 million people power. But at 10 gigawatts, for what they're doing, it represents millions of NVIDIA's GPUs, all running at the same time.
Okay.
Okay, so just think about that. Millions of these GPUs. And towards the end of this little conversation, we'll talk about why that matters again. But the point here is that while this whole AI thing feels like an arms race across the board, whether it's chips or compute or data centers or, building stuff in the sky, securing this stuff early means that somebody else is missing out.
Yep.
Right? Because to run this stuff, you have to have a data center to put it in. You can't just put it in your home. You can't put it in the basement.
Or in your office, like
Or your office.
so
I can't have like 1,000 Mac Minis in my living room.
Yep.
So I wouldn't say it's zero sum, but it might be close to zero sum, which means that if they've acquired this amount of capacity to run NVIDIA's chips, it's likely that other people that are running models, training models, and building these frontier models, or just trying to roll out AI capacity, are having a problem.
It feels like that, right? It feels like they are really trying to build their own capacity as much as they can, right? And also to try to make sure that the competition don't get it.
Doesn't get right.
Competition being anthropic, I guess, in our case here, right?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part. And plus, like, they already told like so many times that Anthropic doesn't have enough compute power,
Right.
and they like all of these things. So I mean, if you have an advantage, now they have the chance to double down on this, right? So
Mm.
so that's maybe what they're doing, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Which makes
their
sense.
flagship Stargate site, right? And Stargate is the name of their infrastructure build that they're doing, but their Stargate site is in Abilene, Texas.
Okay.
And it does run on some Oracle Cloud stuff and on some pretty powerful NVIDIA chips. And that's actually, frankly, where they trained their most recent model. So that place is up and running and it's working. But they're also trying to develop more sites in Texas, in New Mexico, in Wisconsin, and in Michigan. So all over the country. And remember, we talked yesterday, Martin, they're developing these sites, right? But the question is, will they actually be able to build them? Remember, we talked about that really
Yes.
small town in Pennsylvania yesterday that was just like, yeah, you're not building 51 Walmart mega centers in our town and crushing all the old coal mines, right? And using 14, I forget what the number of the power was, but it was a lot of power that they were using, right?
Yes.
So there's some question there as well. But here's the other thing that gets really interesting, yeah? Alongside that milestone, just getting up to the 10 gigawatt before 2029, which is what they were expecting to do. And again, this is where it gets really incestuous. I feel like every conversation we have about AI has this same topic in it. OpenAI and NVIDIA signed a letter to deploy at least, 10 gigawatts of these systems, at least. So they've already gone there. So that means that this is a floor, not a ceiling of what they're trying to implement. If you think about the consequences of that, they're not like we're done. So you said earlier, like maybe they were aiming too low. I think they're just building the floor. They're just building the base infrastructure for this. So they can do the stuff they want to do today, but they're not done with what they're doing for tomorrow. Yeah.
So even more. So they're going to build even more. Wow.
Yeah, they're going to build even more. Again, that's the floor. But also, let's do some numbers. Yeah.
Yep.
And here's what all these numbers just get really stupid. NVIDIA apparently intends to invest up to another $100 billion in OpenAI as this infrastructure rolls out. But what does it even mean, right, Martin? So I have $100 billion. You want to buy all my stuff.
Yeah.
And you want to build all these data centers into which you're going to put all of my stuff.
Yeah.
So like, am I really investing in OpenAI, or am I just investing in me selling my stuff to you that you're going to put in a data center that I'm probably going to manage for you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the same observation that we've been doing since forever in this big AI arms race, right? Like everybody invests into everybody. Everybody is a client of everybody, and it's a really weird dynamic, right? It's a really weird dynamic. Yep. But that's the model that they've been doing with AWS, with Microsoft, with everybody, right? So
yeah. And can I put this? Well, I'll get back to the seriousness of this because I do think it's serious, and I think it's a really interesting topic. But can I tell you this humorous joke that I heard during COVID? I'm sure I've told you this before, but I want the audience to hear it as well.
Tell me.
This German tourist is stuck in the UK during COVID. Okay, and he goes up to a pub, and the pubs they're like hostels here, right? They have places to stay there. And he goes, I want to stay here for a night. What does it cost? It's £100. Okay, can I see the room first? Can I just run upstairs and see what the room looks like? And the guy says, sure, no problem. The owner of the pub says, no problem. But you have to give me the £100 first. So he gives him the £100 and he goes upstairs. And while he's upstairs, like being shown to this room and that room and the other room, the owner of the pub who owes the beer distributor some money runs over to the beer distributor, gives him £100. But that beer distributor owns the trucking company that delivers the beer for him £100, and he gives that guy £100. It turns out that guy owes the guy for the gasoline £100. He gives him the £100. And the gasoline guy had a bar tab at the pub, and he owed the pub owner £100. He came back and gave the owner £100. And then the German tourist came downstairs and says, you know what? I think I've decided not to stay here. So he gives him £100 back. So why am I talking about this? Because that one £100 note or whatever it was, right, literally went to all these people, paid for all these bills, and yet never really made a difference.
Yes.
You understand, right? It added nothing to the GDP. It added nothing to productivity. And I'm not suggesting that all this money that's being sent around, right? But if NVIDIA intends to invest up to $100 billion in OpenAI, and OpenAI is going to take that and buy NVIDIA chips and build a data center, do you know what I mean?
No, for sure. And plus, like, I'm sure that these investments are like we saw that, in the AWS deal that we talked about, I think yesterday or a few days ago, like they were saying we are going to invest up to X amount of money based on how much you are going to spend with us,
With us.
right?
Yeah.
And so this is the caveat here, right? It's not like, hey, we are going to give you $100 billion for free, basically. It's
Right.
going to be up to 100 billion based on how much actually we did back after that, right? So,
Right.
so yeah, it just makes, the story of the $100 that just goes around even more true here. And I think this is exactly what's happening. I mean, it's not, I think, it's like it's definitely what's happening. We see that since like
We do.
so many examples here. And plus this company like Nvidia AWS, they do the same thing with all the competitors,
Sure.
right? And
Sure.
this
Sure.
is
Sure.
what is even more crazy, right? Because I'm sure we're gonna see a very similar deal very soon with Nvidia and Anthropic. We are going
Exactly.
to see the same thing. Just like we saw AWS and OpenAI, yesterday, we may see the exact same thing with AWS and Anthropic very soon, right? So,
Right.
so yeah, no, it's good that they actually, but also like I'm really wondering, Michael, like they want to deploy 10 gigawatts of NVIDIA system, sure, but how? Did they even talk about the how? Like, did they
No.
even say like how this is going to happen? Because
No.
we remember like a few days ago, or maybe last week or the week before, we said there were like 16 gigawatts of data centers scheduled to be built, and
Right.
out of that, only 5 were actually being built. Right. So now they say we want to build 10, so which means it's doubled what is currently built, and it's the same amount that is currently blocked, right? Like the
Yeah.
small town in Wisconsin, it was like something like this as well, right? Like a few
Yeah.
gigawatts of power that they wanted to get.
Mhm.
That's blood basically, right? So okay, sure, you want 10, great. Right, like you can say whatever you want, but we see that the fact are that it's much harder to build data centers and to get to that point to be able to deploy these 10 gigawatts of power that you want, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
in a way,
So,
I feel like if there is no plan about like the how and we really don't know how we're gonna do it, maybe it's just like a big announcement. We're gonna do that in 5 years, let's see how it goes. We're gonna try.
but I mean, it could be partially that, right? Because they are
Mhm.
competing with Anthropic to try to say like
Yeah.
we're building more compute than you,
Hmm,
and you
hmm.
hear no stories about Anthropic building their own data centers. Yeah, we
Yes,
just
yes,
don't
yes,
hear
yes, yes.
stories about it. Doesn't mean they're not doing it. We just don't hear any stories about it. I want to make another point about this though, too, Martin,
Tell me.
because I think it's indicative of the way these investments are taking place. If OpenAI were a startup,
Hmm,
it would have a cap table, right? That would have means where the investors would sit, right? That would have like early stage investors, angel investors, Series A investors.
hmm,
And every time somebody like Nvidia gave them $100 billion, all these people would get diluted and they'd be yelling and screaming, right?
hmm, hmm, hmm.
But no one's yelling and screaming here for the one reason, because nobody's really investing in this. And first of all, Sam Altman, who's the founder, doesn't own any stock.
Yes.
So normally it's the founders that would make the most noise about we don't want to get
Hmm,
we don't want to get diluted, but he doesn't care. And the other shareholders, the biggest shareholders in these companies, are also companies like Microsoft and Amazon, right? And
yeah.
SoftBank. And they don't care if they get diluted either, because they just want the power that comes with having the compute capacity that they're doing. So this is just another example of why this is not like venture style investing.
Hmm,
It's more
hmm,
like
hmm.
industrial style investing.
Yeah, you're right. Like the dynamic behind the investment is pretty interesting, right? And also, like as we discussed yesterday, like
Very. Yeah.
AWS that is now going to distribute the credits model by themselves, right?
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
we
We talked
and we
about it
don't
last
know
night.
like what is the deal with OpenAI that owns the models, right? But
Right.
AWS owns shares into OpenAI, so it looks weird, right? Like it
Yeah.
looks really
Nobody
weird
cares.
of like actually like who owns what, what?
But again, they they
Mhm.
they own those shares, and this is again, it's another really interesting point, right? It's
Mhm.
kind of the point that I was trying to make with the money that Nvidia is giving them.
Yeah.
They own those shares, so they have leverage to get money back to themselves,
Yes. Exactly.
right?
And but then at some point, like if everybody owns some shares, and does the same thing. At the end of the day, does the share really matter, right?
No, it
Like
doesn't because no one's going to
does
take over OpenAI. No
exactly.
one's going to acquire it, right? They're not going to. And even if they list, what are they going to list at $75 trillion? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think people are looking necessarily for capital appreciation here. I think they're just looking for leverage back into their own businesses.
It feels like this, right? It really feels like this.
It
It
does.
feels like this. Yep. And so which means that everybody has this vested interest, right?
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
like
yeah.
getting OpenAI to use AWS, OpenAI to use NVIDIA, OpenAI to use Microsoft, right? To,
Exactly.
as you said, like, get the money back into their own business. Has OpenAI needs to spend, it needs compute, it needs chips, needs all of these things, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, this is a really interesting dynamic, right? So which means that the day it IPOs is what? It's like a way to exit for NVIDIA, for AWS, for Microsoft.
But did they really? That's the thing. Like, are they looking for an exit, or again, are they just looking for the leverage to then leverage that money back into their own business, right? Because
Mhm.
if Nvidia wasn't giving that money to, excuse me, to OpenAI, OpenAI could then do all their stuff on AWS, use the Trainium chips that AWS has, and then take
Okay.
leverage away from Nvidia. But Nvidia's going to take this money and spend it on our chips. That's why they even
Yes.
said they're going to use. They're measuring the megawatt usage in millions of Nvidia chips, not in millions of Trainium chips,
Yes.
right?
That's the thing. That's the thing. So yeah, let's see how it goes. But yeah, it looks like these companies like OpenAI and Rapid and maybe OpenAI even more are way less independent than they should be.
Yeah,
Right? It
yeah, yeah,
looks
yeah.
like they are completely tied to their investors, right? If you
Right.
can
But
call them
investors are
investors.
deep quotes, right?
In really deep growth, right? Like because it's an investor, it's a client, and it's a supplier at the same time, right? So
Yeah, it's like if your mom gives you 50 grand so you can buy her a birthday present, that's a car. You know what I mean? You're like, Mom, here, I bought your present, a new EV. She's like, that's awesome
this is
because
so
she
nice.
invested in you. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, but yeah, but it looks like yeah, like these companies get less and less free, right, to do whatever they want, or to
Exactly.
operate like the way that they should. So yeah, I wonder like how the power structure works inside the company, right? Like
Mhm.
who actually has a say about things, right? And do they actually still have a say about things? I really wonder, right? Who is actually in
Well, yeah, because
charge
how,
right now?
how, how much of Sam Altman's money has he put in? And he doesn't own any shares. So how much money of his own money has he put into OpenAI?
Yeah. Yeah, also how does that work? Yeah. So how does
Right.
actually work?
So,
Because it's reported that he has a very small salary
yeah,
and that he doesn't have any shares, right? So
right.
which means what's his upside, right? And when he was questioned about it during the hearing about OpenAI, right? He said,
Mhm.
because I just love it, right? Which is a very funny answer. Come on, all right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's actually a really interesting model, right? But that's good for them that they get 10 more gigawatts thanks to NVIDIA systems. I really wonder how this is
How?
going to be happening, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely follow up on this
But
story
yeah,
as it
definitely.
develops, right?
Yes. We will keep everybody informed and let you know how it goes. Yes, for sure.
Okay, let's talk about our second topic. Are humans cheaper than AI? And this is Redux. Redux means like we're just reintroducing this because this story is just going to keep coming back. And
Yeah.
this is the outgrowth of something that Brian Catanzaro, NVIDIA's VP of Applied Deep Learning, said. He said even for his team,
Okay.
and again, this is where it gets super interesting, right? Even for his team, the AI compute costs more than the employees that are using it.
This is so, which means it's across the board. First of all, it's like the case for everybody, all right? Like startups, big companies, like absolutely everybody. But also, what's interesting here to me is that Nvidia does not have an interest in saying that. Like that's not in
No,
their best
no,
interest, right?
no, because
Like
they want
all
people to
the
buy more AI stuff.
Exactly, right? So it's interesting because like they have been Jensen Wong like in the last months, you remember that when he was like on the All In podcast 1 month ago, he was like,
Mhm.
we are going to spend 500. No, sorry. So he said every company that doesn't spend at least $500,000 per year in token is just going to be super bad. Like the cost of, I
You're going
mean,
to
the
get left behind.
usage of yeah, going to left behind. The usage of AI is going to explode. That it was like making so big prediction, just to say, okay, like you get to use more AI, right? And now this is pretty much the first time that it's something that goes the other way, right? And says, actually, guys, we get to be a bit more realistic here. We got
Yeah.
to a point where even for ourselves, it doesn't make so much sense, right? So,
Right, right. And and here's the
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Every company out there, so we talked about this too, but just to put a finer point on it,
mhm,
you're right. This statement, if it was coming from somebody outside of NVIDIA, would make
yeah,
sense.
yes. But from
Right, because
NVIDIA,
it
it's
sounds
like,
like a complaint about the fact that like the components are too expensive or the powers to all this kind of stuff or prices are too high.
mhm,
But it's these guys are the guys that power most of the GPUs that powers the AI industry, and they're saying it's still too expensive.
yes. And this guy is the vice president of applied deep learning. So
Right.
which means maybe he's a CTO, like he's a tech guy. So which
Yeah.
means maybe he himself is like, stop saying that. I need people.
Right.
you know?
Jensen Huang's like his phone's ringing right now while we're doing
Yeah.
the podcast. And he's going like,
May-
dude, stop saying that.
Yes, maybe he's been like trained internally. So it's been 6 months when he's like, guys, you gave me a $1 billion budget this year. I spent 850 million already because I spent too much in token, right? Like, give me back people. It's going to be cheaper, right? And it's
Yeah.
been like 6 months that he's trying to say that in internally, and maybe like nobody listens to him. And now he's like, yeah, now I need to I need to say it a little bit louder, maybe.
A little bit loud. Yeah. And look, let's use Meta as an example of this, right? Because this
Yeah.
is one of the companies that said they're going to spend what 125 to 135 billion dollars at least this year on AI related capex, but they just laid off 8,000 people, which is 10% of its workforce, complaining that like they'd rather spend the money on the AI
Yeah,
than
yeah,
on the employees,
yeah,
even though the employees are way cheaper
yeah. On AI
still.
infrastructure, to be precise, right? So the data centers, the chip, and all this.
Right. So that's kind of interesting. I just want to run through a few more of these numbers, right? Because they're just so interesting.
Yep.
Just to reiterate, the scale of AI spending for people that haven't been paying attention is announced like $740 billion in capex just for 2026.
Oh, wow. Which means like all of the announced investments of like all of like Meta want to do that, OpenAI gonna do that, and Anthropic going to do that, all combined, we are
All
700.
combined.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
But
think about it. Just Facebook alone, sorry, Meta alone is going to spend 125 to 135 billion dollars,
yeah,
right?
OpenAI said something like 500 or 600, right? Billion.
Over the next 6 years. So they're going to spend
Yes.
another $100 billion, $122 billion this year and another 120 every year for the next 5 years, right? They're going to get to $600 billion just for them over the next 5 years. So you just add it all up, it's just a ton. And remember, we did that whole story last week, or at least we mentioned this. Again, it's just another way to show like how expensive it is. This is a token story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uber's CTO, only in April, this was probably in the middle of April, right, that this happened, already blew through his entire 2026 AI budget. And he was quoted as saying, this I found really funny, I'm back to the drawing board because the budget I thought I would need is blown away already.
Yeah. No, for sure, but also like I pretty much see it also matter in our very big company, like all the budget that we've done last year for this year are just completely off now. Because everything has changed, right? Like the
Yeah.
entire landscape of like the of how we pay for things. That's, I mean, not the habit, but the what do we pay for has completely changed, right? Between
You
the
mean in our company, yeah?
yeah, in our company, right? Like
Yeah,
between
completely.
the new things that we pay for, the thing that we built ourselves, the thing that we don't pay anymore, plus now we focus on new things, so we have new needs and all of that. Like this idea of like budgeting for an entire year at this moment in time with the AI, speed and pace of development is really
Mhm.
really hard, right? Like it just everything changes so fast that yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that even that in our gigantic company, once again, we see the change so fast. So imagine at the scale of Uber, right? Where
Yeah.
everything is just 10x, right? So
Right. I don't think it's 10x us, but probably close to 10x
maybe
us.
two or three, yeah, two or three.
Maybe conservatively.
Conservatively, yes. But yeah, I mean, like none of these company could have budgeted this type of spend in AI because
No,
the
no.
growth has been AI agents. That's the one thing that just blew the entire budget for everybody, right? And this is really like a 6 months old technology. It just really started to be good in November, December of last year, and it
Mm.
started to be much easier to implement since OpenCloud, since Cloud Code, since Cloudedge, since all of that, which are like basically 2 or 3 months old solutions, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's really interesting that even NVIDIA themselves, they say like, okay, we actually are spending more in AI cost than employees. Yeah.
And this is actually kind of funny too, because Microsoft offered like its largest ever early retirement plan. And we've not laid anybody off, but you keep trying to get me to retire early, and I'm just like, I'm not taking the package.
we still need you to host the podcast, Michael. Don't worry.
No early retirement for me. No
No
package.
early
Come on.
retirement. No package.
That's funny. But here's the thing, and then we'll move on to our next topic, because I think it's also really interesting as well. Gartner, which is this big sort of consultancy, says the tipping point, because the reason why is that like the tech here is still really expensive. Where we talked about it, the chips are expensive. They're getting more expensive because there's supply problems. Demand is outstripping supply. Everybody wants to be in the AI business. We spent a lot of time talking about the data centers and how expensive those are, right?
Yeah.
And there's this understanding, right, that this thing is only going to flip when replacing humans, when AI becomes both cheaper and more predictable at scale. But the tipping point, according to Gartner, may be coming, because they're saying that by 2030, the cost for 1 trillion parameter AI model will fall by more. They're projecting it will fall by more than 90%. This is something that I talked to you about a few days ago as well. I didn't do the same Gartner study, but we've seen these cycles before. We've talked about it. The more people use this stuff, the more people want it. At some point in time, there's going to be this massive economy of scale. And here's the other thing, Martin, that no one's talking about out loud, is that people will overbuild.
Okay.
And once they overbuild, then there's going to be all this latent capacity that was built for some expected business, but that company is going to go out of. This happened when they laid fiber. We talked about this too. All these big telcos laid tons of fiber, but they went bankrupt before they got to use it, but the fiber was still there. So then the acquisition of that fiber by the existing telcos and internet service providers was super cheap, because it was just lying there in the ground. And I'm not suggesting that the same exact thing is going to happen here, but there will potentially be some overbuilding.
Yep.
And that will lower some costs at least a little bit, yeah.
For sure, but really, like, I'm still not convinced that the cost is going to go down. Like, I'm on the fence. I don't want to take side, because I really see an argument for both theses, right? But something that is sure is that, look, they say the cost for a 1 trillion parameter AI model is going to fall by more than 90%. DeepSeek V4 that was launched last week or this week, I don't remember, is
Version
already
4,
a
yeah.
1.6 trillion
Yeah, yeah.
parameters model. So which means the frontier, ChatGPT 5.5, Claude Opus, they are way more than that already. So of course, the model of 1 trillion parameter that is going to be 100 times, maybe 1,000 times less good than the frontier in 2030, because today it would already be less good than the model that we use every day, right?
Right.
Of course, this should definitely fall, because I mean, like, this is going to be much easier to run, and frankly, no one should be willing to use them in 2030.
Yeah.
Except if we start to have much more like customized model that are much smaller, and all of these
More
things
efficient.
that are possible as well, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't see anything like this yet, right? We didn't see anything like this yet, and this idea of scale is going to help reduce the cost, sure, but we are always going to make better and better models, and more efficient, and doing more things, and like, yeah, at the same time, we are going to need more AI, and more AI doing more stuff. And so if we need more stuff, and we just can't catch up always with the offer, because the demand keep increasing, then the price will just either stay the same, or stay being and the price will still go up, basically at the frontier price, right? Not the other stuff.
So let me just give you one example, and then we can move on.
Yes.
Okay. And again, this is just because I've seen this before. I looked it up. I bought the original Bondi Blue iMac G3.
Okay.
That was in 1998.
Okay.
I probably spent like $2,000 on it. I'm looking at it because I'm sure I got like all the best things on it. Yeah.
Okay.
how much faster and more powerful do you think the MacBook Pro that I bought at the end of last year, with an M4 Pro chip in it,
Mhm.
that cost me approximately $3,000, but I probably could have gotten it a little bit cheaper, yeah.
Okay.
But how much faster do you think it is than that
Oh yeah,
iMac G3?
it's way faster for sure.
But
I
it's
mean,
not even close.
it's night and day. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. So it costs the same, but
Mhm.
the compute power is so much higher, and I don't think that that's going to be any different. And the software that runs on it is more efficient. And I just think that at that scale, that the AI business is going to end up being the same way,
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
where the chips are just going to become way more efficient. We haven't even optimized the inference chips yet, and I think that's one of the things that Gartner is pointing out here,
mhm,
right? So once those get optimized, once the software gets optimized, once everything gets optimized, the price is probably going to be around the same.
mhm, mhm.
The models are going to get better.
But
They're going to
it's
get more
going to get
efficient.
better. Yeah.
Say again?
Yeah, yeah. It's going to get better.
So then the
Every
compute's going to be so much higher.
Mhm, mhm,
So by
mhm.
definition, even though it's the same cost, the cost per output is going to be much lower.
Yes, that I definitely agree. That I definitely agree. That we are not going to see a decrease in what we spend, but we are going to see an increase in efficiency, which is
Massive.
going to happen at the same time of an increase in demand. So at the end of the day, we spend approximately the same, but we get much more out of our money for sure.
Yeah,
But on the other hand, like the computer that you bought like a long time ago was the best at that time, so you could do the best at that time, which today you'd still do the same thing. You just get the best at that time, right, for
exactly.
that price. So I think we are going to be in the same model. So that's why I don't think we are going to spend less, but we are going to be able to do more. We are always going to be able to do the best at that time.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
And I want to make one more point about that iMac G3. Well, actually, two. One is it was a super cute machine, and the back was translucent, so you could actually see inside it.
Ah,
That was kind of cool.
I think I saw one of them.
And I gave it
Let me
away to
check.
one of Kyoko's friends
Yes,
for
yes, yes.
nothing, and I wish I had it today because I would literally put it on the counter like a display thing.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, I think my first Mac was one with this type of shape. So
Could
it's the
be.
first Mac that I saw, not that I bought, but the first Mac that I saw one was one with that type of shape.
So I'll just do this because it's gratuitous. But see this thing, Martin?
You
I
love
love
doing
pulling this
this.
thing out. I love showing this thing. Firewire. Anyway, okay, let's talk about Snap. Is that okay?
Yes, let's go.
So again, Evan Spiegel gave an interview, and just some of the stuff that he was talking about is dribbling out. I didn't have time to watch the whole thing. I don't know how long this recording was or the interview was, but some of the stuff is dribbling out. And I want to talk about this because he's not the only person to say this. He essentially is saying that some of the tech leaders in Silicon Valley are like sleepwalking into a backlash. We already are hearing about some sort of AI backlash, right? People are scared that they're going to lose their jobs and all the other sort of implications of what's happening in the AI space. And his quote is this: people are massively underestimating the role, and this is true, I think, that human adoption and human comfort with advances in artificial intelligence will determine its employment. So, do you understand what that means?
Yep, 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 yep.
Right? So, it's like you can't just bully this into everybody's daily life. Because if people over time are just thinking, this is going to destroy my lifestyle, if that's what they think, even if it's not true, there is going to be a backlash and there's going to be pushback.
Yeah.
And I think these people aren't even thinking about this, right? And they're thinking about job displacement and energy consumption and stuff like that. And again, we see it already in these small towns in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes.
Like AI could be super helpful, but we don't want it in our backyard
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the diesel fuel and the power it takes up, plus it's an eyesore and it makes too much noise and all this other stuff, right? So I don't think he's so wrong. This idea, though, about societal approval, I think is going to be really important. What do you think?
Hmm. I think that's an interesting idea because the entire marketing message around AI since day one, it's a fear message, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
AI is going to take your job, AI is going to be so powerful, it's going to control the world. Like some people still believe we are going to end up in the matrix, right? And we are going to be controlled by robots, right? Like, do you remember, Michael, like when we received question on X, and by 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 the way, for those who are listening, if you have any question about AI, feel free to send it to us on our edge. So we
Yeah.
love to
Yeah. Yeah.
answer
Love to answer that.
people's question. But the number one question that we receive is AI going to take my job? And the second question is, people will believe the next phase of humanity is just robots who are going to control us with AI, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is because of this fear marketing message that has been used since day one, right? Of like, hey, AI is too powerful, it's going to take your job, blah 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 blah, right? That the model themselves have been using to promote their tech.
Yeah.
And so that's really interesting that now we say actually maybe that's maybe not a good idea, because if people don't believe into AI, then that's going to slow down the adoption or if people are scared about AI, it's going to slow down its adoption. So I
Yeah.
think he has a point, but the fear message from Martin's standpoint is way more powerful. And it's pretty much too late, I think, right now. So it was not in the meeting when the marketing message was discussed,
No,
and they took
he definitely missed the meeting.
he missed the meeting and they took another direction. And I think now it's a little bit too late for that. That's what I think.
So the other point I want to make about this, and you have the article up so people can see it
Yeah,
during this recording, is that the irony here is that
yeah.
he's making all these statements, right? He's trying to sound really magnanimous,
Hmm.
like really self-important, while he's laying off 1,000 people, which is 16% of his workforce, and he's citing AI productivity gains as the reason why he's doing this.
It is indeed pretty funny. But then, but I think actually this could be a backlash. Like if companies keep firing people saying, "Hey, it's because of AI,"
Yeah,
you know, the same way we had like all of this greenwashing, you know, like all of these companies say, "Hey, we are good for the planet," right? And they
yeah,
use
yeah,
that as well. I mean, maybe they believe into it. I don't want to judge that, but a lot of companies use this as a marketing message to say, "Hey, we are a good company. We take care of the planet. You should buy our own products," right? And
yeah,
on the other end, the companies that were doing bad things to the planet were losing customers. They got bad PR and all of this thing, right? So it was hurting the sales based on how we were perceived doing good or bad things for the planet. So
yeah,
here, that type of stuff could backlash, right? Like
yeah, for
even if people
sure.
believe or not into AI, if companies keep saying, "Hey, I'm actually laying off people because of AI," I understand they need a way to justify, and right now they pitch AI because that's what everybody pitches, and that's the easy pitch, I would say. But this could definitely backlash, because then people could say, you know what, we don't want to use Microsoft anymore, we don't want to use Snapchat anymore because they fire people from AI. We prefer to use their competitor who are nicer with their people who use AI, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
mm,
Look, I mean, I talk about this all the time. There are people that make decisions on what products to use and what companies to interact with by the way those companies treat their
exactly,
employees,
exactly. And this is
right?
real. This is real.
Yeah,
Like this is big, actually, and we saw that, you know, in all of these last 10 years with, "Hey, we want to be good for the planet," kind of, you know, messaging.
yeah, yeah,
That it is important, yeah.
yeah. And it's
That's
interesting
huge.
because in I wouldn't say in reverse,
Hmm.
but Aaron Levie, right, who's the founder of Box,
Hmm.
is just constantly, if you follow him on X, is just constantly banging out this idea that like AI is not going to steal your job.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's definitely not going to take away job from people that code. We're going to need way more people to code. Way more people is his contention. And he writes about this every single day. It's really weird because I look at X every single day to find like what's going on. And he's just constantly saying, like, don't be worried about this. If you're an engineer, you're never going to be out of work because people are going to need you to be there all the time.
Hmm. 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 I was thinking about that, Michael, as well. Like coding as a human behavior is something that is what, 30 years old, 50 years old.
Um,
On the scale of humanity, it's so tiny.
60, yeah, so probably 60 years old. But yeah, you're right. It feels because if you've only been alive for 30 years, or even if you've only been alive for 50 or 60 years, you feel like it's always been around so that it's always been around.
Yeah, but it's not, right? It's something that we have
No.
created to interact with computers, right? And that
Yeah, yeah.
was the V1 of our way to interact with computers, right?
Correct.
And that is super, super young, basically, right? So now we are going to maybe the V2 of interacting with com com computer, and because coding as a thing is not that old, then it's not like it's a bit it's not like it's a bit changed to me, right? It's not like we are changing the way that we create engines, for example, right? Like because engine
Right.
has been used for so long, you know, we have been doing cars and trains and factories and tons of stuff, right? So if tomorrow we change completely how we do engines, like, okay, this is going to be a bit shift, but for coding, it's a different story. It's much, much, much a new way to do something, right?
So now you've forced me to bring up this article. I don't want to go through the whole thing.
Tell me.
but there's a blog called techtrenches.dev.
Is it the one you sent me earlier? Okay,
Yeah.
let me pull this up for
Yeah.
viewers.
So I don't want to go through the whole thing now,
Yeah.
but maybe we should go through this tomorrow. Maybe we can introduce this today, but talk about it tomorrow because this is kind of what you're talking about, right? Tell me when it's okay for me to talk about it. There you go. Okay.
It sounds really.
The contention here is in the title, right? The West forgot how to make things.
Mhm.
Now it's forgetting how to code.
Yeah.
And maybe we can leave a link to this in the show notes because the whole premise here is that in the weapons industry, because we just had plenty of weapons and had plenty of peace for the longest time, they just like shut down the factories and the people that were making the weapons kind of aged out or retired.
Yeah.
And now that there's a war going on or multiple wars going on, we need some of these weapons. But like apparently they haven't made like Stinger missiles in years. I don't have the whole article in front of me.
Okay.
But with the war in Ukraine and then what's going on in the Middle East and all this other stuff, right? I don't want to get into the politics of it, but the idea is that it's going to take a long time for people to just understand the expertise and all the components that are necessary to build this. There are no factories to make them now, but we need them now. So
Yeah.
in his understanding, you and I were talking about this before we started recording. Coding is a thought process,
Yes.
right? It's just not just understanding the syntax of a programming language. That's the easy part. And it's relative, but the hard part is understanding the abstraction of the idea into the code writing.
Yes.
That's the science in the computer science. And this article makes one of the contentions is we need to have that as a skill set. That automating the coding is not like good for us. You're right, Martin. Maybe it was just V1. But if you don't understand like how things work, then you can't use version 2 either.
For sure. I mean, that definitely helps a lot. That definitely helps a lot, especially on the part of the brain that is used for coding, right? As you said, like all the understanding of the abstract world and being able to be comfortable into this, right?
Right.
Because when you code something, you need to imagine what it's gonna look like, or when you build something, you need to imagine what it's gonna look like even before it actually exists. And you don't have, papers and scissors and stuff on your desk, right? It's all in your brain. It's all in the imaginary, and you need to connect data and and be able to connect the dots basically only in your mind. And yeah, just some people are way more comfortable than others with that. And this is just like a skill. It's like a capacity of the human beings, right? So this capacity is real, is more or less developed with people, but it's real, right? And so for sure, if you understand how to code and you are good at this way of thinking, then you're gonna be just much better at using V2 and then maybe using V3 in 5 years. Maybe we are going to have something else, right? Or you can use your skill to do something else. Maybe there is something else that is using more of that very unique skill that you have.
So the simple example I like to give of this, and then we can move on and talk about cars. But the simple example I like to give about this, Martin, is when I was getting my driver's license, my dad forced me to learn how to drive a manual shift car.
That's a good example, yeah.
Say it again.
Yeah, I think that's a good example. Go ahead.
And the reason why is because if you know how to drive like a car that has no shifting, right? What is it, like an automatic shift, which is what we called it back then. If for some reason you get stuck and you have to borrow a car that's manual and you don't know how to drive it, you don't know how to drive. But also, if you don't understand what the car is doing, how the gears work, how they interlock, how you switch gears, even if it's done in an automatic way, then if you have a problem, you can't even fix it. You can't explain it to anybody. And I love the fact that I could drive a manual car because even when I used to travel, this is maybe 25 years ago, you would go to some places in Malaysia, in Indonesia, where the only car you could rent was a manual drive.
We started to have automatic in France maybe 10 years ago.
Possibly, right? So I had to learn how to do it. And it was hard because, I mean, I don't talk about this a lot, but in high school, my dad when he was in high school, was a driving instructor. It's the worst kind of person to learn from. That's a story for another time. But the point is that it's the same thing as coding. You'll be way better at Claude Code and Codex.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
If you know how to code.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is, I think, as of today at least, right? And we don't know like how the AI is going to grow and how the AI is going to get better. But as of today, nothing that I'm building right now for us would have been possible if I didn't have a good understanding of the tech side behind it, right?
Exactly. Right.
It
Right.
is,
Right.
it would have been absolutely impossible, or I would be able to build small stuff at small scale, right? And for maybe a lot of people, it's enough.
Yep.
But once it gets really serious, or once you want to build like a big feature or something that's going to make a real difference,
Yeah. Yeah.
then it gets into the abstract world like really, really fast,
Right.
and you get to be super comfortable there. And then you require real knowledge about hosting, about security, about also like maintenance and backup, and how to architect something. Like it is hard and it's real skills, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just the process of like using GitHub to push PRs, and then to orchestrate that with a team, and then
Yeah.
to do backups, and to put your backup into a different servers, right? So in case the AI delete that, you don't have a problems. Like all of this is skills without intake. That if you don't know that, you can't build really big things.
No. No.
And so that's why like these skills that you have, maybe you will spend less time actually coding stuff, like actually writing CSS, but everything else is absolutely still required as of now for sure, and super important. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's relevant. And if we want to have a longer conversation about it, we can do that. But
We should
I
do a
just thought that was
debate.
I
We
just thought that
should
was
do,
super interesting.
yeah.
Anyway, and the article's relatively new. I think it was from April 21st, so it's like a week and 10 days old or
Yep.
whatever. Yeah. So it's not like it's from 3 years ago.
Denis Stetskov, and we can put the
Okay.
link in the description. Yeah.
So yeah, please. So we've been talking about some serious stuff. I just thought this was a little bit whimsical and funny in a certain way. China's EVs, right? The electric vehicles. We had a question about this a few weeks ago, right? Where like some guy was like, "Oh, I would never buy a Chinese EV," and I'm like, "Well, you can't because you're in the United States and they don't sell them there." But in fact, they're sneaking in through Texas anyway, which I find hilarious. Texas is a very conservative state. It borders Mexico. And I guess if you have a visa to go, and people go, like people do come from Mexico into the United States to go to school or to do some work or whatever. If they have a proper visa, it's not a problem at all. And vice versa, as a US citizen going into Mexico, simple. But Chinese EVs, excuse me, are available in Mexico. And some of these cities that are close to the border, people can literally like walk across the border or drive across the border in one car and buy. So here's the thing, 5 miles from El Paso, Texas, across the border I'm not going to pronounce this properly, but in Mexico, Mexican car dealers are stocked with BYD, Geely, and Great Wall vehicles. And Americans cross the border, they buy them, and they drive them back into the US every single day. Okay. And think about this. According to this article that I read, Geely's M Grand sedan starts at around $17,000 for a car.
Wow. Yeah.
And BYD's plug-in hybrid, right? That's the brand you and I always talk about because we see them all over the streets where we live. They offer 100, it's a hybrid, so it's 100 plus miles of all electric range, beating every US plug-in hybrid on the market. And the US auto industry has not sold a car below $20,000 in years.
Wow.
So why wouldn't you just like literally walk across? It's 5 miles away. You could ride your bicycle there, put your bike in the back of the car after you buy it, and drive home.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, in a way, that's normal, right? It's not that surprising, right? Like with all
No.
the thing that you just said, right? The price is low, the cars are great, like everything is cool. Like, I mean, if you just need to drive a little bit to go buy your car there and it works, right? I mean, why not? Definitely, right? So makes
Yeah.
ton of sense. I mean, I'm I'm wondering how that works. Really, like actually like how they get the license plate, for example, in the US, because you get to register the car at some point.
Right. So
So you need
it's
to
not
import
illegal.
it.
Like it's not illegal to have it, I think. It's a good question.
No.
I was thinking about that too. It's not illegal to have it, but you probably just take it down to the Department of Motor Vehicles and you say, I bought this in Mexico. I
Yeah,
have
of
this
course.
car. How can I get tags and registration for this car? And I'll buy insurance for it. That's all you really need.
Okay. Yeah. You're right. Maybe if it's not illegal to have it, but they just don't sell it, then yeah, then there's no problem, right? And
Right. So
so
it's illegal to manufacture it. And this is the thing. Um, they want to ban all Chinese cars because you know what's going on in the world. And we don't have to talk about the politics of it, but they want to ban it. But 30% of American car buyers say that they'd consider buying a Chinese
for
vehicle.
sure, for sure.
Why not?
I mean, that's what happened in Asia. That's what happens in Europe. The only reason why it didn't happen in the US is because they blocked the imports. That's it, right? It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
because the US don't want to buy them. It's not because they are not good car. It's because they want to protect their automotive industry because they know very well that it's going to be like a bloodbath, right? If tomorrow they
right.
start to allow BYD in the US, right? So
Yeah. So
and
here's the thing:
mhm,
the Hyundai CEO, right, who runs the business in Mexico, Jose Munoz, says we cannot compete at the same price as the Chinese vehicles without losing money. And the Nissan Americans chairman says the Chinese are going to find a way, as you said, Martin, to get into the U.S. market. It's going to happen. But here's the funny thing: Waymo's robo taxis in Arizona,
mhm.
and we see these cars where we live too. I love the name of this brand. Already run on Zeekr vehicles.
Okay.
You see them, the Zeekr. You see these
Yes,
driving
yes, yes,
around,
yes,
yeah.
yes, 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 yes.
This
Yes,
is a Geely brand.
okay,
So
okay,
they're
okay.
already driving around on US streets. They're just driverless. So like who owns them? Do you know what I mean? It's just so weird.
So which means that it's an American company who import them and then use them for autonomous driving. it's
Right.
it
Right.
start to be really funny. Huh?
But again, this is the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because
Yeah,
it is Chinese technology. It
yeah,
it is
gotcha.
tech related.
Mm-hmm,
And at some point, the US market is going to have to deal with the idea of having Chinese EVs and hybrid EVs in the country
mm-hmm.
because frankly, they're the best vehicles in the world right now.
Yep, yep, yep. They also lose a lot of money, the Chinese, on their cars, right? Like they like the government needs to subsidize like all the loss of the companies.
Yep.
So that's also a fact, right? And it's true that in the West we can't really do that, right? We can't really like, just lose ton of money and then
No,
just wait
no, no.
for the government
To
to
subsidize it and fix it.
to
Yeah.
subsidize, right? Like, it doesn't really work like this. So it's true that it give them like an unfair competitive advantage against like under our commercial laws, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when I say ours, I mean Europe in the US, right? It's not something that our car manufacturers are able to do, and so they can compete. And the Chinese, they sell all of their cars and by losing a lot of money, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
from this point of view, it makes sense to say, hey, look, guys, you can't compete in our market because you don't respect the rules, right? That you're not playing the same game as the other guys, right? So in this case, I think it made some sense. Once again, what is Europe doing, right? They just let BYD sell as much as they want, which
Right.
is
Right.
another very interesting interesting thing. But yeah, at some point, I don't know. I think they will have to allow these cars, and let's see how that goes. But there's
So
like
here's
another
go
political
ahead.
angle, right? That is
So
also very
so
important.
here's the
So
thing. The government, which is made up particularly in the Senate and the House of Representatives, but mostly in the Senate, is made up of a bunch of octogenarians, right? So they're so old, they don't understand what's going on in the global economy. And they also forget, here's the thing. In the 1970s, I remember this clearly. My dad bought a Datsun,
okay,
which was the precursor to Nissan.
okay,
Okay, it's the same company, but they had a brand in the US called Datsun.
okay.
But the American auto manufacturers, General Motors, right, all these companies, they wanted to ban Japanese imports because they said that they were price dumping, they were pricing them below cost,
Okay.
they were losing money on them. But Toyota and Honda were making cars that were so much better, and because of the fuel problems in the United States in the 70s, right, because of the oil shock, American consumers were just dying to buy them.
Mm,
They really were. They put so much pressure on their regulators that they had to let these car companies in, and then Toyota and Honda just basically took over the US car market. And to be fair, one of their concessions was they started manufacturing the cars in Kentucky and in Tennessee and in California. So they were providing jobs to people as well. And once that happens, what are you going to do? And the same thing's going to happen with these Chinese car companies. The government may say we want to ban them all for political reasons.
mm, 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 mm.
But if your neighbor in Texas, right, has a BYD and it's hybrid electric and it's going 100 miles without an extra charge, and you're sitting there still driving whatever you're driving, you're like, I want one of those, and they ban them,
Mm, mm,
people
mm.
are just going to react, and the government's going to have to let them in, and they're
Yeah,
going to manufacture there as well.
yeah, makes sense. Makes complete sense. Yeah, I think that's highly possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on.
Which by the way, once again, what is Europe doing, right? BYD is not manufacturing any cars in Europe, right? Which to me makes ton of sense, right? Like if you want to dump the price and then you want to sell into our market, then at least build your stuff here, right? So
Exactly. Give people
that makes ton
jobs.
of sense. give people jobs, but also pay tax in the country, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
that's another way to participate into the economy. If you don't do any of that,
Yeah,
anyway.
support the economy. And that was the big change I think that the Japanese automakers made, is that they came in, they built factories, they brought their parts makers as well.
Yeah.
Like even today, the Japanese car makers, I wonder what that number is. It's got to be in the millions.
Okay.
I was reading about this a couple of days ago. So Japanese firms employ over 1 million Americans
Oh wow. Okay.
in the United States. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not
That's
small.
yeah, it's decent, right? And so which means like the economic value of that is actually big, right? And
Yeah.
also at some point that they can't lose money for ever, right? So
No, no, no.
at some point they will need to up the price. At some point they will need, to become profitable, and then at this moment they are going to pay more tax and then hire more people, and then all of this stuff happening, right? So
Yeah. Anyway, they
so
just become part of the political landscape as well, right? So they start having lobbying firms work for them, but all this kind of stuff I think the Chinese companies will do as well.
yes, so but I think that is going to happen at some point. Chinese cars are going to be in the US.
Right. Not just in Texas and
Yeah, not just
Arizona.
Texas. But
Oh,
yeah,
God. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the Vision Pro. I've wanted to talk about this for a while, but since the
yeah,
M5 chips came out and since they started to they upgraded it without like making any really big changes to it, the headline here is that Apple has effectively given up on the Vision Pro.
okay,
Okay, so the M5 refresh launched in October of 25. It added this thing, that thing, and the other thing, and increased the battery life. They added some other stuff to it, but the price stayed at $3,499, unchanged from the launch price. They sold roughly 600,000 of these things since it launched in 2024.
okay.
But can I make the case, Martin, and you can argue with me if you'd like, and anybody in the chat can argue with me if they would like as well. Apple never intended this to be a mass market product.
Okay.
This was a development kit product. They wanted developers to buy this. I presume at some level it was subsidized by companies and stuff like that because it's just too expensive and too clunky, right? The battery was too big. The thing was too heavy. Like, I don't think it was meant to be mass market. I don't even think it was meant to compete with the other sort of VR headsets that were out there. What Apple wanted to do is they wanted to introduce this idea of spatial computing, and they wanted to see what people could build for it. And I think this was just a precursor to glasses that Apple is probably going to introduce in the next year or so. And this was the way to get the development kit for that, because it's probably going to run on the same operating system. Or did you see what Apple does? They have an iOS that runs their iPad and their iPhones. They have the Mac OS that runs, excuse me, their computers. They have the Watch OS that runs the watches. What am I missing? Do they have one more operating system? I can't
Phone,
remember.
watch.
No, that's all. iOS, Watch OS, Mac OS. Anyway, the point is that they always do this. They want to have an operating system that's specific and determined just for that one product line. My guess is that this was just a test. They
Okay.
never intended to sell. So giving up, I think, is the wrong word here.
Okay.
It's just they're sunsetting this because they're expecting to introduce something that's going to be way better than this. This was an experiment. Apple doesn't do this that often,
That's true.
but when they do, it's pretty obvious.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's possible because I've never tried one, but
Neither
I've
have I.
never really been like, willing to try neither. I was never like, okay, we have to try that. No, we have to have it, right? It was never like this feeling of like, hey, it's going to be really a game changer.
Mhm.
And so that's why we never tried. Um, but yeah, so I'm really curious. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they built like tons of software into this thing that they're going to reuse into something else. Also, it looks like the market is going towards the glasses, right? Like the
Yeah,
smart
yeah.
glasses, and Meta is killing it right now in the smart glasses space.
Yep.
So Snapchat is going into that as well. So it makes sense that Apple is like, you know what, our Vision Pro that is not really doing well, then maybe we need to pivot to actually the smart glasses, right? So
Yeah. And look, we talked about this. Meta sold over 7 million of their Ray-Ban smart glasses in
wow,
2025 alone. 7 million. That's that $2 billion number we talked about yesterday, the day
yeah,
before. Yeah.
yeah, wow. So the $2 billion was just for 2025,
I
just
can
really,
confirm that. But yeah, Martin, they sold
okay,
7 million Ray-Bans
it's huge. It's
last year.
It is, and so that's like 12 times more than the entire, like I mean, the entire, like the total number of Vision Pros sold by Apple, 12 times more in just a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not the same price point, though, right? Like the Meta's smart glasses, they're what, like $250?
I don't know what the price is.
So it's like 25 less expensive than the $3,000,
Right.
three
Right.
thousand five
And the
hundred
three
dollars
thousand
something
five
like
hundred
that.
dollars. But again, so Apple's completely. They say scrap the project, but I think they got what they wanted out of this test. They wanted to see if anybody would buy it from the development side, and Apple, it appears, is targeting a very similar product to what Meta has, and Apple's been really good at this as well, right? They see what's out there, they see what people are interested in, then they go and just make it way better, and then they integrate it into the rest of their operating systems and the rest of their ecosystem, and then just more people would buy it. Like I'm more likely to buy Apple glasses than I would be to buy Meta glasses, not because I have anything against Meta per se, but just because my whole ecosystem is Apple. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and also like Apple has this history of always doing like the high end, really good product that just works super well, right? And that integrates with everything and that is,
Yeah.
fast and all of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like what you said at the beginning of this discussion about like Apple trying the spatial computing, right?
Mhm.
Maybe it's actually that was maybe an attempt to try something completely different in the way we
Yeah.
work, actually, right? Like
Yep.
because it's true, like in all the demo that I've seen, it's like you put the Vision Pro on your face, and then you can control with your hand. You have like a virtual keyboard, but that's not the point, right? Like you can actually like work in a completely different way, which also like the keyboard and the mouse is what same like 30, 40 years old maths, right? So maybe once again it was just a V1 to something else.
It's like 50
um
years old, 1975 or
19,
1976, the
okay,
original,
this thing.
something like
So
that, 40 or 50 years old. Yeah.
okay, so maybe that was also like just the V1 to something else, and
Lasted a
Vision
long
Pro.
time, but yeah, V1 for sure.
And so maybe Apple try something. They were like, you know what? Maybe we can work a completely different way, right? And then it's interesting when companies try something new, right? So
Yeah.
unfortunately, it didn't work. But it's always good to try new things, especially when it's big behavioral change, right? Like okay, like
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
we program less, we use AI more, right? Okay, maybe we use the keyboard less, and we use the Vision Pro spatial computing more, right? So yeah, that's interesting. Good things to learn from that, I think.
Exactly. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's get back to automobiles. The headline here is your car may soon be monitoring everything you do. This is particular to the United States, right? Congress passed a law in 2021 during the Biden administration that said all new cars have to include technology that detects impaired drivers.
Wow.
So read impaired. Do you know what impaired means?
No, what does it mean?
So impaired means like you're not at 100%, but what it really means is drunk driving.
Okay.
Driving while under the influence of something is what they're saying here. And the mandate is part of this big infrastructure investment and jobs act. And the deadline for the automakers to do this is 2027.
Oh wow.
And it would monitor drivers passively. So there's no breathalyzer, no pulling anybody over. They're just like in cameras, tracking eye movements and stuff like that and behavior. Breath sensors embedded in the car. This is a regulation. I can't believe this, to be fair.
Mhm.
And if impairment is detected, the car could prevent itself from starting. What are we doing? Anyway, I thought this was really interesting, right? Because I want them to put technology into a car. This is why I wanted Apple's Triton or Titan project to actually come to fruition,
Yeah.
right? Because look, you and I hinted about this last night. I want to see a car that's really completely computerized and technologized that actually helps me out.
Yeah.
Sure, I don't want drunk driving on the road. I think it's terrible.
Mhm.
It kills people. It's bad for people. This feels to me, and again, I'll leave it up to you to decide. I'll leave it up to the listeners to decide. But this type of regulation and auto manufacturers feels to me like a little bit of overreach. But that's not the point of this. The point is that they're trying to build more and more technology into cars. I don't know. At some level, that seems like a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. I mean, it's it's a good idea to want to prevent drunk driving and all of these things, right? This is definitely something that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want to do. But it looks extreme to me, right? It feels like
Very
so
extreme.
extreme, super extreme, right? Like for example, if you want to put like a camera like this into my car, okay, but then what's the maximum speed you can go in the US?
Well, they do.
100,
I don't know what it is, but they do this in Dubai, right? Like the taxis in Dubai cannot go over a certain speed.
right? So why this is not the first thing we did 10 years ago, right? Like let's say
Mm.
the maximum speed is like 110, for example. I have
75.
no
I think
idea.
it's 75 miles per hour, but I don't know. I
Okay.
haven't lived there in a while, but yeah,
So whatever the number, why my car can go faster than that? There is
freedom. It's just freedom,
zero.
man.
Yeah, so that should have been the first step, right? Like that should be to me the first step. Let's just make sure that my car cannot go over the limits because there is no way will be allowed to do that. And instead of doing this very simple thing that we can accept because that's just the law, we
Right.
put a camera into the car. So for me, it's really inconsistent, right? Like why we don't
Yeah, yeah.
start, by the big thing first, and then maybe we get to a point where we need to put cameras, right? Um, yeah, that's weird to me, really. It's like I don't
I don't
know
like it at all.
how I would feel about it. Yeah.
And can I tell you two more things?
Hmm.
In the 1970s and 1980s, the police started doing radar speed testing, I think, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then electronic shops started selling radar jammers.
Okay.
So you could have a radar detector in your car that could jam the radar.
Oh
So
wow,
that
that's
so it was
smart.
like this arms race between you, the police, and you in your car.
Mm-hmm.
And then the police had created a device that detected whether you had a radar detector in your car.
Okay.
And then they made that illegal. Let me tell you one more thing. My grandfather
Hmm.
used to buy the same car every year. He would literally just get whatever the new model was. He didn't ask, he didn't say anything. He would just the dealership would get it set for him.
Okay, okay, okay.
And before they delivered it to him, you want to know what they would do?
No.
At his request,
Okay.
they would turn off the odometer.
Okay.
Do you know what the odometer is?
I think I know,
It's the
but
thing that measured how many miles you drove.
okay.
Because the lower the mileage, the lower the resale value was, for both for my grandfather who bought a new car every year, so they wanted to help him out, and for the dealership who wanted to sell that car at a higher price.
Okay.
So you don't think that people are going to have these cameras disabled?
For sure. For sure. Or like, or
Anyway.
what about you just put something in front? It's very simple. You just
Yeah, exactly. Like a black piece of tape in front of it, like you
then you
do on your
just black
monitor
piece
on your
of tape.
laptop.
Yeah, that's it. Very simple. Like very very simple. I don't know. It feels really really intrusive to me, right?
Yeah, and it's like
And
this is
with
the legislation you're going to come up with. I don't know. It just seemed weird to me. I thought it was interesting again that they're putting technology in the cars. That's the reason why I want to talk about it. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, but it's weird tech, right? It's really weird tech. It I don't think it's gonna stay, right? Like, is it
No.
possible? Like, because like it's going to be like manufacturer needs to do that by 2027, right? So it's like basically next year.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
which means they are going to have to sell this type of stuff in new cars next year. Um, yeah, I don't think it's just I don't think it's going to stay. Like, people are never
No.
going to be okay with that.
No. People are just going to take it into like a mechanic shop somewhere and just have it disabled in software or disabled in hardware somehow.
Yeah. Or just to buy like a used car, or go to Mexico, right? Like you just go
Go
to
to
Mexico
Mexico.
and
Exactly. Go to Mexico.
you
People,
get your
millions of people are going to be crossing the border in El Paso and Suarez, Mexico, to come across the border with a BYD that they're not supposed to have either.
yeah, exactly. But also, like, this is really interesting to force new cars to have that. But what about the old cars? Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no problem, right? So which
No,
means
no, no.
it's gonna take what, 10, 15 years, right? For everybody to have to have the tech, right?
Feels a
So
bit
which
silly, doesn't it?
so yeah, it doesn't look like it's the solution to this problem to me, right?
No, it does not feel like
Um,
the solution to this problem to me either.
nope. So that's a little
Anyway,
weird. Hmm.
okay. Let's talk about SoftBank. We had mentioned this a few weeks ago, but now it's kind of really official. SoftBank is starting a company. They want to create AI and robotics, and they're calling this company Rose, ROZE. And they're creating an AI and robotics company and they plan to take it public as early as late 2026. But what they want this company to do is deploying autonomous robots to build data centers.
Oh wow.
The idea is to
Okay.
make constructing AI server farms faster and more efficient using robotics. And remember, they're also going to build their own data centers
Okay.
using these robots. right? So it's an operating company. They're not just investing in this company. It's going to build physical infrastructure, and they plan to bundle existing portfolio assets into rows. So they have some already robotics companies. They have Digital Bridge, which is a U.S. data center operator that SoftBank is buying for $4 billion. They're going to merge all of this stuff together. Yeah. But also remember that SoftBank is a founding member of Stargate. This is OpenAI's data center company as well. So all these things are coming together in the same place.
And SoftBank always like to do big, crazy things.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, I think they said they're I love this. So they're going to include a reported $40 billion loan just to finance its OpenAI stake. And again, this gets back to the conversation we're having at the beginning of the show, which is they're going to give money to OpenAI so that OpenAI can use the data centers that SoftBank is building.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's that same £100 again going into the pub
Mm,
in London kind of thing.
yeah. But you have a difference that SoftBank is a Japanese, it's a Japanese entity.
Well,
So
SoftBank Investments, the SoftBank, the company itself, it's unclear to me whether it's SoftBank, the company, or SoftBank, the investment company, and that's a
okay,
global company, right? But yeah,
okay.
Masayoshi Son's a Japanese guy for sure.
Yes, he's Japanese because the thing is like when you have your $100 bills that just like go inside the US, that's simple, right? But as soon as there is like cross-border trade, cross-border payment, then there's different tax, there's different laws and all of this thing, right? So
Hmm.
so it makes everything a little bit more complex. But yeah, maybe they just like set up something in the US to just make stuff easier. Um, but yeah, no, I mean that's cool. That's an very ambitious idea, right? Like SoftBank
Yeah.
always does, I would say, right? They always like if there's something crazy that needs to be done, very often SoftBank is a big investor into it, which is true, right? Which is yeah, very interesting. Plus, like I mean, the Japanese they have robotic knowledge, right? Like they know very well how to do that, right? It's how they improve their car industry like crazy, right?
Oh my
Huge
God.
in the US.
So yeah, I've told you this before, but like there are Japanese companies that build robotics, that build robots, that build robots. Like
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
companies in Japan that, and I told you that like there are listed companies that do this, and they will not even let you into their factory to see what those robots are building
yeah.
and how it works. So yeah, the Japanese definitely do have an expertise here.
Mhm.
And Masayoshi Son is probably going to piggyback on some of that expertise to try to consolidate all these assets he's already built together. And he wants to list this company because it's going to be a way to offset some of the costs that he's already spent on
Yeah,
funding OpenAI and trying to build all these data centers as well. And it's going to make these data centers more efficient if he can actually build them using robotics. Yeah.
much more efficient for sure, and then maybe also like much faster because they need data centers right now, right? So that may be a way as well for them to be much faster into the building of all of these new data centers. So maybe actually it's possible that if it works really well, all of a sudden so many people become their clients. I mean, so many
Yeah.
companies become their clients, right?
Well, that was
And
the
so
whole point too.
and so
Yeah. I
that
think.
would be so funny, Michael, because imagine SoftBank invest into OpenAI, build data centers, build this company that build data centers that then works with Anthropic and with everybody else to help them
Build
build
data
data
centers
centers
using robotics funded by OpenAI.
using robotics funded by we don't remember who at this point, right? Because
Right. He's like, whose company is it? Whose money is it? Who's making the product? Nobody cares.
that I mean that would be hilarious if tomorrow like they help AWS, they help Anthropic, they help everybody build data centers. That would be like that's an extra layer of this AI story,
Right.
that's new and that's pretty interesting.
Well, it sounds like a high state. Do you and friends have this game that kids play called musical chairs?
Yes.
You
We
do,
do.
right? So this sounds like a very high stakes game of musical chairs
Yeah.
where the music is going and at some point it's going to stop and it's going to be one less chair there.
Yes, it's true. Yeah.
Right. And someone's not going to have a place to sit down.
And it looks like, AWS, Microsoft, Nvidia, they are trying to get, little pieces of all the chairs, right? And so
Exactly.
when one is going out, they have enough space left on the chairs they own to be able to sit, right?
Exactly.
It definitely looks like this to me. But on the other end, like they need to build data centers. They are companies that build data centers, right? So that's
Mm-mm.
something that already exists. So they are going to compete in these markets, right? So which means like it's an existing market that already makes a lot of money, that needs to grow and is going to make more money. So now if you are going to compete in this new part of the market that you didn't address before, that's like new money that comes to the AI ecosystem, right? That was normally like planned to go the normal companies that are already doing this, right? So
Yeah, and this ABB Robotics that they want to fold into it. So this is a company that they bought at the end of 2020, well, the last quarter of 2025. This is a real bona fide company
okay,
that's been operating in the robotic space for a while.
okay,
Right. So
nice.
ABB is, I think it's Asian Brown Bavara. I don't know where it's domiciled. At some level, I feel like it's a Swedish company, but I don't know that off the top of my head. But my point is like, this is a real thing.
Okay,
And they want to fold it into this whole venture here. So that at some level makes a certain amount of sense.
for sure. And if it works, it's going to be very useful, huh, for a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
people.
yeah.
For a lot of people, do you remember that we started a company called No Magic like a few years ago? We were
Yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah, yeah.
robotics for warehouses. Um,
Yes, 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 yes. I
and
remember it very well.
it was super interesting. But yeah, that's interesting because there is not a lot of talk outside of Asia about robotics and no implementation and all of that. We don't really talk about that. Like in Europe, for example, it's
Mm,
not something that is openly discussed, you know. Maybe because people are scared that's going to take your job and the backlash and all of this thing, right? And so people
yeah,
try
yeah.
to avoid this type of communication. Maybe, right? That would be my first assumption. But yeah, it's not really something that is well discussed or well covered, at least in Europe. And I don't think in the US also there's a lot of talk about robotics, way less
Not
than
really.
in Asia, right?
Not really.
Hmm.
Okay.
So
The last thing, Martin, was something from Twitter that I just wanted to point out because I thought it was really interesting, right? Cursor is the company that we talk about every now and then. Yeah. But
yeah,
this Cursor
yes,
is one of these companies that automates coding. Yeah.
yes.
So Cursor has built a Kanban board, and maybe you can comment on this as well. This is more like in your wheelhouse. They built a Kanban board where you can literally just like drop in tasks. So there were plenty of these software SaaS businesses that were built where like they would allow you to monitor the tasks you had in Kanban style.
Yeah,
Right. So this would be like your idea, then it would be who's going to responsible for it, who's going to implement it, what's its status, and now it's completed all throughout this whole Kanban lifestyle. Yeah. I mean
yes,
life cycle.
yeah,
And what they're saying, but before you would drop in a task and then you would assign it to Martin or you just assign it to Michael and stuff like that. But now what they're saying is you drop something in and you can build something where like it knows that there's an agent out there that can do it, or it builds an agent that can do it, and it goes out and it does that task. And I just thought that was incredible. Like we don't have to spend a ton of time talking about this, but it's just another way that they've built. Apparently, they've built a software development kit on this,
okay,
and to show off what it could do, the Cursor team demoed a Kanban style agent workflow. I just thought that was kind of cool. Like I don't
yeah.
really have a ton to say on this, but I just thought that was super cool, right? And again, this is version 1, so who knows what
Yeah.
version 7 is going to look like, but
And plus, like once again, like what is really interesting here is the directionality, right? Like
exactly.
they are trying to integrate AI agents into existing systems, into existing workflow, and trying to make the UI even easier and easier to access,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So we went from a chat in 2022 when ChatGPT started to now we have this Kanban style and then and plenty of other ways to interact with AI. And this is like the directionality that is super interesting because now we are at this level. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, maybe it's going to be used or not. We don't know, but it shows that they are interested into like making it easier, making it faster, making it like more efficient for you as a client, right? So
Yeah,
so this is what's super interesting because once again, maybe that's V1, maybe V5 is going to be a game changer, or maybe V1 is already a game changer, right? But
yeah.
it's always good to have improvement into the way that we use AI into our editing workflows.
Agreed.
And yeah, I mean it sounds super interesting, right? Like I mean, if you and to be fair, like I've built something very similar for us, Michael. Like I've built something really similar where like the idea is you put a task, right? So and then you have a cron that is just going to go through all the tasks one by one.
What
So in
determine which agent should do it, or could it make an agent on its own that actually specifically does just that task?
So making a new agent, most of the time you don't really need to do that because you can spend you can like you can like I mean at least with the way Claude works through the CLI, you can have like one agents that can be spawned 25 times.
Got it.
Right?
Okay, so it
So you
just
can like
spawns a process that does the thing.
yes,
You call it
yeah,
an agent, but it's not really. Yeah, I get
yeah.
it.
It's not like a new agent. It's more like a new process with the same content that you have given. So that's like a new version of the same
Yeah, yeah,
agent, basically,
yeah, yeah.
right? So you don't really need to build new agents for that. You can just use the existing thing that you have. But then it's a really interesting thing because instead of saying, hey, look, I want to do that, right? And then you interact with the AI. And then once it's done, you say, okay, now I want to do that. Then you interact. Then once it's done, task 3 and task 4, right? So it's really manual and it's really like one by one type of stuff because our brain can just like, speak at just like one thing at a time. So instead of that, what you can do is that you can create this task list. So either you do it in Kanban style, or you do it like in whatever format that is good for you, and then you
I
just
love
say
it.
to the AI, look, just go through everything, right? And you have the task, you have this place for questions, you have this place for re- review, and when you're done, you just put into this place. So you have these 4 different layers, right? So like task needs to be done. AI has some questions. Job is done. Martin needs to review, and then work done, basically. And so then you just create that, and then you just let the AI goes, basically, right? And so you can create 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 tasks, and you come back 2 hours later, and the AI has made some progress. He has finished some stuff. You have some question on other stuff, right? And then in just 5 or 10 minutes of input, you can participate into 3, 4, 5, 10 different tasks instead
Yeah.
of doing all one by one, right?
So, yes, and that was the whole point. This SDK apparently is launched as part of Cursor 3. This is a ground-up
Yeah.
interface redesign built around, as you're saying, Martin, running fleets, so bunches
Okay.
of parallel agents.
Yes, yes,
Exactly
yes,
the
yes.
same thing you're describing. Yeah.
Yep. And so this is a very different way to organize the way you code, right? And this is a really different way of thinking. Like this is like
Mm,
we were talking about like the behavior, the potential behavioral change of the Vision Pro.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is a behavioral change in terms of how you build stuff and how you code things, right? Because now
I love it.
you don't need to be at your desk coding and doing one task by one task. You can think in terms of, okay, what are all the tasks I need to do and how do I orchestrate them so
Yeah, yeah.
actually the AI can actually it's asynchronous work.
Yep,
Like is that the proper word? Okay, perfect.
yep. Asynchronous, asynchronous.
Yes,
Yep, that's the
so
right word.
it's asynchronous work. Like the AI does stuff and I come back after and then I put the input only where I'm required instead of
Right.
waiting for him to do the work and then ask me question in just one by one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like they do this bunch of stuff and when I come back, show me where you are at, right? So it's pretty much the way we would manage a real employee, right? So it
Yep,
makes a
yep.
ton of sense, right? You would not sit down with each of your
No, no, no.
employee,
Just let me know when you're done with that
watch
thing,
them
and then give
work.
it to me when you're finished, and then I'll do what I need to do with it, kind of
Yes,
thing. Yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. So
Same.
it's
Just like real
much
life.
more like that, right? So it's a really different way to approach coding. That's definitely not how we've been doing that before. I would say the big drawback is that every task takes much longer, like on a one by one task basis,
Got it.
because when you chat with the agent, you can say, okay, do that, and then it just does it, and then it comes back to you, and you can have this back and forth, and that's really fast. Where here, where you have like for example 10 task number one, and then task number two, because you have a cron that just go through them, and then you have questions, but maybe you answer the question only 2 hours later, right? And during this time, the agent does more stuff, but on task number one, it's stalled for 2 hours, right? So for per task basis, it's much slower. But I think on a longer period of time, like the 3 days period of time, 7 days period of time, you can achieve way more stuff if you
For
work this way.
sure.
Way more stuff because your time is going to be way more like way better used because you are not just waiting for the AI to do stuff. You can do something else, come back 2 hours later, and
Right.
then participate in 5 tasks in just 5 minutes,
Yeah, because
basically.
even my workflow, Martin, if I could just automate some very simple things that I do,
Mm,
uploading this, just checking, all these little things, it would make me way more efficient. Because if I forget for like a 10-minute period of time, it adds like an hour's worth of work. Whereas if I
yeah,
did that as soon as it was ready to be done
yeah,
through Agentic AI, then I would save myself that hour. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, even if it's not happening at the same time, this
So
asynchronous workflow stuff that gets automated is actually really powerful.
yep. So I think it's really, really powerful. And that's something that I started to implement for ourselves, I think, like a few weeks ago.
Awesome.
For example, I built the Calendly copycat this
All
way
right.
today because I was working on something else. And I was like, you know what?
All
I want to
right.
start this thing right now. So just do it, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
when you
yeah.
need me, you just you just put your questions somewhere, and when I have time, I will answer to you basically.
Did you roll this out to all of our global employees or not yet?
Not yet, not yet, not yet, because we don't have the orchestration layer, the governance layer, Michael, sorry, to
All right.
make
We have
sure
to put the
that
governance like before we roll this out to everybody. I mean, God, the
exactly,
impact is going to be huge. So
because yep. But yeah, but it's more for coding tasks than for other stuff. I don't know if it can really be useful because it's useful if you want to build something new. But
mhm.
if you do repetitive tasks, then it's not
Yeah,
AI
yeah.
that you need. It's more like a script that just does stuff, right?
Yeah, a cron with a script
Yeah,
associated with it that
cron
just does it.
with
Yeah.
a script and API calls and done. There's no AI into that because once again, AI being probabilistic and not deterministic, every time you do something with AI, it may work or not, right? It's
Right. And it
really
may do other stuff as well if
and
you
it
don't
may
have the
do
right governance
all,
and guardrails in place. So,
or even if you try, like, for example, going to website and doing stuff like doing actions on website, the AI are
right.
so bad at that. Really, it's a disaster. So which means like to automate your workflow material, for example,
All right.
if there is no API, it's impossible
Right. Right. Yeah.
because it's
Just
just going
getting
to
to the
be a
right
nightmare.
spot in the website to be able to do that thing is just like going to be a
Yeah.
nightmare. Yeah. Yeah.
And even if it does it 10 times in a row good, you are not sure that the 11th time, or the 15th time, or the
Yeah. Yeah.
20th time is good. And this is where the risk is because if you believe the AI is going to do that always from now on, then in your mind you just do something else. You just,
Else, yeah.
you just forgot about how to do this thing, which we talked about as well yesterday, right?
Right. Right.
And then when the AI fail and you have to go back, it's 10 times worse, right?
Well, yeah.
Because
It's hours of wasted time and
exactly.
hours of wasted efficiency and productivity.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why, like, if you can avoid using AI, it's way better. Like, really, just put a cron, use the API, put a script on that, way better, right? But when you need to build new things, and of course that needs to be developed, and so AI is in the loop, then yeah, this type of organization I think is much lower on the short term, but able to do way more stuff on the long term if you
Yeah.
have the correct what's the word, like the correct orchestration layer to really handle all the different parts, right? Like all the questioning, all the revision, all the testing. Like there's really like some deep thinking to do here to be able to build that properly. Because and the main thing is because it's asynchronous. Every time the AI is going to do something, it will lose all the context, right, about what has been done before. So which means it needs to do something, save the data somewhere. So when you restart, it actually knows, it actually pick up the work towards the next step, right?
Right.
And so how do you store this data? In what format? If he has a question, where is the question? How do you answer it? And how do you make sure that the next process that spawns the agent to continue the work, no data, no question, no information is lost, right? So all of that is really something you have to clearly think about to to do it properly. If Cursor helps to build all of these things, it's really really good. Like it's really really good. It's not that simple. Um, but yeah, this is. I don't think that's a product for everyday people. It's a
No.
product for developers who build stuff.
I just thought it was really cool. I want to thank Parth Jadhav actually for pointing this out.
Yep.
I just followed him on Twitter, and I wanted to point this out because again, I just thought it was just an interesting use case. But I guess that's kind of it for today. Yeah,
Wait, Matthew, I had one more thing to share.
go for it.
One more thing that I didn't send you because I forgot.
It's a secret.
But
I like secrets.
it's a secret. It's a secret, but that's actually a pretty good
A
segue
pretty good secret.
from
Go
what we've
ahead.
been speaking right now.
Go ahead.
Let me show. Yeah, so Stripe has announced that their integration link that that save your card information. Like when you pay on a website that use Stripe,
Yep.
you have
Yep.
this little button that say, hey, do you want also to sign up for Link? So then we can remember your card information, your details information. And so next time you pay on another website that also use Stripe, you can actually reuse that as well. Okay, so it's a way to store the information on the Stripe level and not on the merchant level.
Merchant
So we
level.
can
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
that.
So you're abstracting away from each individual merchant, just going Stripe
Yeah.
has it. When you need it, it goes to the merchant.
Yes.
They don't save it.
Yes, exactly. So now they say we are launching the Link wallet for agents. Okay, so agents can now
Oh,
create a Link wallet. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing, Meta just rolled out a CLI to be able to manage your Facebook ads through your agents as well. Okay, the third thing, Cloudflare said this morning, starting today, agents can now be Cloudflare customers. They can create a Cloudflare account, start a paid subscription, register a domain, and get back an API token to deploy code right away. Okay,
wow.
so we talked about Shopify 2, 3 weeks ago. We deployed something very similar. Now
Yeah.
Cloudflare, Meta, and Stripe would deploy integration for the AI agents. It's happening. It's happening.
Oh,
It is,
that's exactly what I was just about to say, Martin. Is
yeah,
it's happening. It's not. This is just not theoretical anymore. If Stripe and who you said Meta and
yes.
Cloudflare.
Meta, Cloudflare, this is massive companies who have millions and millions of customers, billions of dollars of revenue. Now they are making their product accessible to your AI agents, right? And so it's happening. It's just the tip of the iceberg, right? It's going to
Yeah.
be way
Because
more, way
does
more,
that
way
mean that
more.
now an agent on Stripe can pay on
So
Cloudflare?
So I think this so the linked wallet is the way to pay, right? So
Yeah.
it's more like if your agent has a link wallet, then every merchant that use link will be actually easy to pay to from the
Right.
agents.
You would
Okay.
presume that Cloudflare would want to implement that because a ton of people are probably using Stripe to pay for Cloudflare. And do you know what I mean?
Yes. So that can be like definitely like competitive advantage from the payment processor point of view, right? To say, hey,
Right.
look, you should use Stripe because we already have like
You've
one
already
one
integrated this. Yeah.
one 1 million AI agents that are registered that will have a
Yeah.
very easy way to buy on your shop, right? So yeah, for sure. Like Cloudflare looks like they are doing their own thing, right? They don't need Link to process the payments. They just build their own as well. And Meta as well give you access to the Facebook ad library, sorry, for the Facebook ads interface for your agents, which is really, really, really cool. And yeah, I think this is just the beginning. We are going to see way more and way more and way more of that, which is
Wow.
really, really cool. Which is really, really cool. Then the next thing that I wanted to share with you, Patrick Collison,
Yep.
Stripe CEO and co-founder,
Co-founder.
who said, we just announced a large raft of improvement at Stripe and my reflections. It feels that the entire economy is replatforming right now. Many chaps at Stripe are inflecting in quiet, dramatic ways. What GitHub recently reported for commits, we are seeing in economic activity.
What does that
It's
mean?
in so I think like I think what it means is like the more development, the more commits that is happening into companies that actually translate into actual economic activity, like company
Wow.
formation, new clients, and new things like this. Like for example, like I think what it means is like as people are building more stuff, they are actually creating more product, which at the end of the day turns into creating more companies. So they pay for these services. Stripe has a service called Stripe Atlas
Yep.
that
Yep.
creates
That sets up
income for
companies and
you.
does all that stuff in the United States.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I think that's the different lane that is referring here. But then
Wow.
I wanted to get mainly to the third point. It is increasingly clear that agents will be responsible for most transaction in the not overly distant future.
It feels like it though, does it? And it feels like it makes sense that that's the case.
Okay, I strongly disagree with that.
Yeah, but
So
he
much.
he knows better than we do, though, right? Because he's seeing it happen, and also he understands what the guardrails are that need to get built to make this happen. And if they build the right tools, Martin,
Yeah, but no.
why? Tell me why. Why is it a no?
So, so first of all, yeah, I agree with you. He has more data, he sees more stuff, sure. But on the other hand, he has also vested interest into this happening. Right? He's like
Yeah, but that's
Jensen
not
Wong.
new, though. That's
Yeah,
not new.
yes, yes. But what I really disagree with is because like actually I don't disagree with the idea that agents will process payments. That I agree on that. What I disagree is agents are going to be responsible for most transaction. I think my feeling is that it's more going to be like an e-commerce inside of retail thing. Sure, it's going to happen, but it's going to be like 5, 10, 15% of transaction at the most. I really don't see a world where it's actually most transaction, just because as human being we do not like most of our transactions are not on new merchants. We just buy at the same place all the time, and for that we don't need agents. That's it. I think over 90%, maybe 95% of the payment I've made in the last 6 months are in merchants that already have my card data. And it never happens that I need to go buy something new, that I ask ChatGPT to find some coffee beans for me, and that I need my agents to go process a payment to a new merchant. This is a
Right.
very, 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 very tiny part of the payment that I'm making. Like the big majority of the payment that I'm making are to companies that I already know, who already have my data, and my
Right.
agents doesn't need to be there.
But think about this. Every
Yep.
year, millions of kids graduate from college that don't have a credit card yet,
Yeah.
that don't make payments.
Hmm.
And over the next, I don't know how many years, those kids aren't going to pay for things the same way you do. And they're not going to have the same level of loyalty that you do. And their payments are all going to be agentic. And that's the point he's making, I think. It's nothing to do with, like, I don't even have a credit card.
Maybe the first one, but then the merchant just saves your card, and then you don't need your agent anymore. Like just the whole point of all of this integration is to have the agent to actually process a payment for you somewhere, right? But
I
if
think
this
that
somewhere,
I think the jury's out on this, right?
Mhm.
Because even if you had said, like, in the 1970s, no one's going to use a credit card to pay for everything, it's just too easy to pay for cash. At some point, everybody just started using credit cards. It
Mhm,
just because it just became easier.
mhm, mhm,
And I think what he's suggesting is that as more and more payments get digitized, look, I did a whole thing on ATP Insights today with the guy from Payoneer,
mhm, mhm,
and like it's amazing how fast what's happening in that space.
mhm.
Who were the two guys we had on the show today?
World Pay, now Global Payments,
Yes,
and
we had Global Pay and then we had
yeah,
Payoneer. So two payments companies. And like both of these guys were just saying that like the growth of what's happening in agentic payments and agentic AI is just like you can't understand how fast this thing is moving.
okay, okay.
And remember, you're talking about you as an individual,
Mhm, mhm.
but a lot of the world, and Payoneer is a B2B company, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So the B2B world, which is probably bigger or at least as big as the consumer to business world,
Yep.
those guys are going to build a lot of agentic stuff. And what it's the other thing it's going to do is since I think it's going to unlock the ability for, and remember their B2B stuff is all SMEs and SMBs, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to unlock this ability for SMEs and SMBs to take payments from people that they couldn't take payments from before,
Mhm, mhm.
right? All the cross-border stuff, and they're going to integrate all the FX stuff into it, which is again going to democratize the ability for these people to sell and buy from anywhere in the world at any time. And I think the suggestion that Stripe is making there as well is that a lot of that stuff is going to turn agentic.
Yeah, let's see.
I know you don't believe it,
No, I
but we
think
don't
it's
know the
going to
answer.
be.
That's the point, right?
I think it's going to be like e-commerce. It's going to be happening, but it's not going to be more than 10, 15% of retail. Same thing, same thing.
So what
It's
percent? Because I looked this up.
yeah,
Is you make a good point. What
yeah.
percent, as of early 2026, e-commerce accounts for approximately what percent of total global retail sales?
I think 16, 17.
Close enough.
So that I think is
Close enough.
going to be the same type of parity between agented payments and across all payments,
But
basically.
here's the problem. The lens through which Patrick Collison is looking is that most of the stuff that Stripe does
Mhm.
is e-commerce related.
Yes.
So the percentage of stuff that he sees in the bubble in which he exists,
Mhm.
even if it's only 20 to 23% of global retail sales is electronic, 100% of what he sees is probably electronic.
Yes. Yeah, true.
Or 95%, yeah, or 90%. So not, and his feeling is all that's going to be, do you know what I mean? So the
Yeah.
lens through which he's looking at this is different than the lens through which you're looking at it.
Yes. For me, I look at my own use case. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
need agentic payment at all. Like, for
Neither
me,
do I. Neither
this
do
is not
I.
something I need. This is
No, I
just
don't
not
either.
something I need. And I'm going to
I don't
keep
want
paying
it either,
online.
to be
And
fair.
I'm going to keep paying online this month. I pay for my Netflix subscription. I pay for my Grab. I
Well,
pay
look
for
look
ton
at
of
what
stuff.
happened. Look at what happened to me with Riverside.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to argue with them because they took payment from me for a product I haven't used in a while, right? So that's mean, to be fair. Second of all, there's no one to call there. Third of all, if my agent had made that payment for me, now I got to argue with my agent about making a payment that do you know what I mean? I don't want
Yes.
that at all.
Yes. But even if all the agentic potential issue works, okay, like let's just assume it works. Okay, let's just assume there is no problem and the agent does exactly what you want all the time and there is no issue at all. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Even if that's like we just assume this, once again, I don't need my agents to go pay for stuff online just because I do not buy that many stuff online that are new.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's just
So
the thing,
and
right?
your suggestion here is that where you are making payments today, your credit card is already
It's
resident
already
there, so
stored.
there's no reason.
Exactly. There is no reason for my agent to go pay online for me because there is no
No,
new merchants that I'm going to that often. And it's definitely not the most part of my payment. No, no, no. Most part of my payments are to companies that already have my information. And even
exactly.
if my agent was doing something tomorrow, okay, then the merchants can just save my card, and then tomorrow, then the day after, I don't need my agent, agent anymore. Or maybe I'm going to have an agentic browse towards the shop that I go back to, right? But then the payment is just going to be through the card that has been registered, right? So no, I don't think most payments are going to be
So
agentic.
my biggest fear here is that these companies are going to force you to go to agentic payments for some reason that we don't understand yet.
That would be like in
You know what I
Singapore, they
mean?
just force you to pay by card and there's no more cash. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would
you know
be
what I mean, though, right? Where like
yes,
they
yes,
go,
yes.
okay, that part of our business where your card is resident is no longer existent anymore as of like May
Yeah.
3rd, 2020 something. And now you have
Yes.
to set up an agent thing because that's how we want to do everything because that's how we get more data or more metadata, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like that's my
Mm-hmm.
fear.
Oh la la, you're right. You are absolutely right. If somehow there is like a one of these big payment company, one of these big,
Yeah, yeah.
banks or stuff like that, like one of these Revolut or Air Wallets, like somebody really big, that have tons of
Mm-mm-mm.
clients, and all of a sudden, yes, you're right, like they get more data or they get more commission or
Something,
they
right?
something, and then they just remove the normal way to pay, and then we got to go to agency because they force us. That would be horrible. That would be horrible.
I mean, think about it, Martin. What's the name of that restaurant that I like to go to in Singapore?
Merci, Marcel.
They won't take my cash,
They won't take your cash. Exactly. They force you to pay by card. They force you.
but I don't have a credit card. So I
Yeah.
told you a couple of times I went in there, I had to get cash
Yeah.
and give it to the waitress who used her credit card to pay for my dinner.
That's the most funny thing ever. So you pay by cash at the end of the day through
So I pay by cash anyway. They just make it super hard and embarrassing for me to do it. But again,
Yeah.
this is the legal tender issued by the country in which that
Yes.
restaurant operates.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's not crazy that they would force a payment method on you that you don't want to do.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. No, I mean, I hope it doesn't happen, right? I hope it doesn't happen. Or maybe there's something I'm missing completely, but
I
I
doubt
don't
it.
think most transactions are going to be agentic. Maybe some of them, maybe some use cases are going to be cool, but plus also I think we are talking about like very small tickets. Like, would you buy a ticket business class to Paris tomorrow and just leave your card to
An
to the
agent?
agents to maybe do something right, maybe do
No,
something wrong?
no.
But plus, like all the demo that I've seen of agentic payment, like it sends you a notification, the agents, for you to approve the payments, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if I need to be involved, I'm just going to do it myself, right?
That's the thing.
Like,
Like it feels like an unnecessary thing.
it's so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. I don't think agentic payment is a thing at all. I think there is no use case for it. I really don't see it as something. And plus, once again, it's an agent is probabilistic. The day you're gonna have one problem with your agentic payment, because problem is going to happen for sure,
Right.
you are going to
What is it
stop
going to do?
using it, right? Because like, look, if you go to an agent and you say to him, look, I want to buy a pair of red sneakers on Amazon tomorrow, okay?
Right.
If you ask him that 5 times, he's going to buy 5 different pair of shoes for you. Is it
Probably.
good? It can be good, right? So then how do you make sure that your agent is actually going to buy the right thing that you want? Then the only way is if you are involved into the process of buying, right? And once again, if
Exactly.
I'm involved into the process of buying,
Why is an agent paying for my stuff then? Why can't I just do it myself?
and Amazon already have my card as well, right? Amazon made this experience of shopping on their website so simple and straightforward, right?
One click
So
purchase. Yeah. Why?
so the agent is just going to be on the way. It's just fun. No, sorry, the agent is going to be in the way.
I wasn't going to correct you,
Yeah.
but fine, not on the way.
But I think it's it's the same thing as when all of these agentic platform like OpenClaw or Hermes or all of these guys, they launch something and they say, hey, look, we can make our agents, like be funny, make joke, call me, or all of this type of stuff. Okay, that's fun, that's a funny use case, but it's useless, right? At
Right.
the
It's
end of
like
the
it's,
day,
it's like making those Boston Scientific or whatever those robots are like
yeah,
learn how to do the samba, and you're like,
yeah.
okay, it can do it, but it's not necessary to have the robot dance.
And it's in the way if I need to do work and I have a problem or I have a deadline tomorrow or there's something really really important that
Yeah,
I want to
yeah, yeah.
achieve or I want to make progress in my company, I want to be more competitive, I want to get market share, or for whatever reason, the last thing I need is my agent to make joke right now. I want my
Exactly,
agent to focus
exactly.
on the work, right? And so that's why like it's just going to create more friction. We don't need any of this. We may need a research agent who can gather data on like 5, 10 e-commerce website and then give it to me, then give me a link and I do the payment. But that already exists. So we don't really need much more than that, I think. So that's why maybe it's gonna happen, but definitely not for most transaction. Definitely
Okay,
not.
okay, that was awesome.
Let us know what you think in the comments, and if you disagree with me, please let us know.
And if you agree with me, make an agentic payment to me to tell me that you agree with me. Small increments are accepted. Okay, Martin, that was awesome.
Dude, we have a great show. We had a great show.
Thank you for everybody. That's it today for AGTP Daily. Thank you so much for joining us today. Was a great show. Give us a thumbs up on today's video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all of our socials on X, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. And let us know in the comments on all of those places if there's any questions you have for us or anything you would like us to discuss on our upcoming shows. We will be back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's Martin. My name is Michael.